Hello, future doctors. Welcome to Synapse, your ultimate NEET preparation platform. Today, we are diving deep into the fascinating world of cilia, those tiny, hair-like structures found on cells. We'll start with the basics, understanding what cilia are and what they do. Then, we'll explore their intricate structure and how they move, moving from easy to medium, hard, and finally, the hardest concepts, preparing you for any challenge NEET throws your way. Let's begin this exciting journey. Let's kick things off with the easy level. We'll uncover the fundamental nature of cilia, their appearance, and their common locations in our bodies. So, what exactly are cilia? Imagine tiny, hair-like projections extending from the surface of cells. That's essentially what cilia are. They're microscopic, usually quite short, ranging from 2 to 10 micrometers, and a cell can have many of them. Unlike flagella, which are typically longer and fewer in number, cilia work together in a coordinated fashion. Think of them as numerous miniature oars propelling or sweeping substances. They are key components of many eukaryotic cells, playing crucial roles in movement and sensing. This basic understanding forms the foundation for our deeper dive. Now, let's look at where these amazing structures are found and what they do. In humans, cilia are vital. For instance, in our respiratory tract, they line the airways, constantly sweeping mucus, dust, and trapped microbes away from our lungs, acting like tiny brooms. They protect us from infections. Another crucial role is in the fallopian tubes, where cilia gently move the egg from the ovary towards the uterus, a vital step in reproduction. Beyond humans, single-celled organisms like Paramecium use cilia not only for moving through water but also for creating currents to draw in food particles. So, whether it's clearing pathways or aiding reproduction, cilia are incredibly important. Time to test your understanding with some easy-level practice questions. First, what are cilia? Second, name 2 locations in the human body where cilia are found. And third, what is the primary function of cilia? Take a moment to think about these, recalling the key points we just discussed. These questions will help solidify your foundational knowledge. Alright, let's step up our game to the medium level. Here, we'll delve deeper into the fascinating internal structure and the clever mechanism behind ciliary movement. Before we dive into structure, let's quickly differentiate cilia from flagella. While both are motile appendages, cilia are short, numerous, and bead-like oars, moving fluids or particles over a cell surface. Flagella, on the other hand, are long, usually few, and beat in a wave-like manner, primarily for cell locomotion. Despite their differences in appearance and beating, they share a fundamental internal structure called the axoneme. This 9+2 arrangement of microtubules is a hallmark of both, highlighting their evolutionary relationship and shared molecular machinery. Now, let's explore the intricate internal structure of a cilium, known as the axoneme. This structure is famously described as the 9+2 arrangement. Imagine 9 pairs of microtubules, called doublet microtubules, forming a circle. In the very center of this circle, you'll find 2 single microtubules. This precise arrangement is crucial for its function. Each cilium, and flagellum for that matter, originates from a structure called a basal body, which is located at the base of the cilium within the cytoplasm. The basal body itself has a 9+0 arrangement of microtubule triplets, similar to a centriole, acting as the organizing center for ciliary growth. How do these tiny hairs actually move? The secret lies in the sliding microtubule model. Projecting from the outer microtubule doublets are motor proteins called dynein arms. These dynein arms act like tiny feet. They bind to ATP, hydrolyze it to release energy, and then walk along the adjacent microtubule doublet. This walking doesn't cause the microtubules to shorten, but rather to slide past each other. This relative sliding is then converted into a bending motion of the entire cilium by other accessory proteins, resulting in the characteristic power stroke and recovery stroke that propels substances or the cell itself. It's a beautifully coordinated molecular dance. Let's consolidate your understanding with 5 medium-level practice questions. First, how do cilia and flagella differ in terms of length and number? Second, describe the 9+2 arrangement of microtubules in an axoneme. Third, what is the role of dynein arms in ciliary movement? Fourth, what is a basal body and what is its structural similarity? And finally, explain the basic mechanism of ciliary movement. Good luck! Welcome to the hard level. Here, we'll dissect the cilium's molecular architecture, explore the precise mechanics of its movement, and touch upon its clinical relevance. At the hard level, we dive deeper into the axoneme's ultrastructure. The 9+2 arrangement isn't just microtubules, it's a marvel of protein engineering. Each outer doublet consists of a complete A tubule and an incomplete B tubule. Crucially, dynein arms, both inner and outer, extend from the A tubule, poised to interact with the adjacent doublet. Radial spokes radiate from the A tubule towards the central sheath, providing structural integrity and converting sliding into bending. Elastic Nexin links connect adjacent doublets, preventing excessive sliding. This intricate network of tubulins and accessory proteins ensures the coordinated and efficient beating of the cilium, a testament to cellular precision. The molecular basis of ciliary movement is elegantly described by the sliding microtubule model. It's an ATP-dependent process. Dynein arms, acting as ATPase, bind to ATP, hydrolyze it, and undergo a conformational change, causing them to walk or power stroke along the B tubule of the neighboring doublet. This action results in the relative sliding of the microtubule doublets past each other. Crucially, the presence of radial spokes and Nexin links resists this direct sliding, thereby converting the linear sliding force into a bending motion of the entire cilium. The precise timing and coordination of dynein activity along the axoneme dictates the characteristic wave-like beat pattern, ensuring efficient movement of fluid or the cell itself. Beyond motility, many cells possess primary cilia, which are fundamentally different. Unlike motile cilia with their 9+2 axoneme and dynein arms, primary cilia typically have a 9+0 arrangement, lacking the central microtubules and dynein, rendering them non-motile. Their primary role is sensory. They act as cellular antennae, detecting a vast array of extracellular chemical and mechanical signals. For example, in kidney tubules, primary cilia bend in response to fluid flow, initiating signaling cascades critical for kidney function. They are also central to key developmental pathways like hedgehog and WNT signaling, orchestrating cell differentiation and tissue patterning. Defects in primary cilia lead to a range of severe genetic disorders known as ciliopathies. Now, let's tackle 7 hard-level practice questions. First, describe the roles of radial spokes and Nexin links in ciliary movement. Second, explain how ATP hydrolysis by dynein arms leads to ciliary bending. Third, differentiate between motile and primary cilia in terms of structure and function. Fourth, what is a ciliopathy? Fifth, name 2 diseases associated with ciliary dysfunction. Sixth, how do primary cilia act as sensory organelles? And finally, briefly explain the sliding microtubule model. All right, NEET aspirants, prepare yourselves for the hardest level. We are about to explore the cutting-edge aspects of cilia, from their evolutionary history and assembly mechanisms to their profound roles in development and potential in bioengineering. Let's begin with the evolutionary journey of eukaryotic cilia and flagella. It's crucial to understand they are fundamentally distinct from prokaryotic flagella. Prokaryotic flagella are simpler, protein filaments that rotate, while eukaryotic cilia and flagella are complex, microtubule-based extensions. The 9 plus 2 axoneme structure is highly conserved across diverse eukaryotes, from single-celled organisms to humans, suggesting a single, ancient evolutionary origin. This conservation highlights its functional importance and efficiency. While their exact ancestral origins are still debated, the presence of a basal body, structurally akin to a centriole, points towards a shared cellular machinery that predates the divergence of many eukaryotic lineages, underscoring their deep evolutionary roots. The assembly and maintenance of cilia are incredibly dynamic processes, managed by a sophisticated system called intraflagellar transport, or IFT. Ciliogenesis, the formation of a cilium, begins at the basal body. But how do the necessary building blocks, like tubulin and dynein, reach the cilium tip, which can be quite distant from the cell body? This is where IFT comes in. IFT particles, large protein complexes, are transported along the axonemal microtubules. Kinesin to motors drive anterograde transport, carrying new ciliary components towards the tip. Conversely, dynein to motors facilitate retrograde transport, bringing old or damaged components back to the cell body for recycling. This continuous, bidirectional transport ensures the constant renewal and precise architecture of the cilium, a remarkable feat of cellular engineering. The precise beating of motile cilia is not random, it's tightly regulated by intracellular signaling. Calcium ions are key players. An increase in intracellular calcium can dramatically alter both the frequency and direction of ciliary beating, allowing cells to respond rapidly to environmental cues. Cyclic AMP, or CAMP, also modulates beat frequency, often through protein kinase A, which phosphorylates specific axonemal proteins. This phosphorylation fine-tunes the activity of dynein motors and other structural components, dictating the speed and coordination of microtubule sliding. This intricate interplay of ions and signaling molecules allows for highly adaptable ciliary responses, enabling functions from clearing pathogens in our airways to creating developmental flows in early embryos, showcasing a highly sophisticated control system. Primary cilia, once considered vestigial, are now recognized as vital sensory and signaling hubs, playing profound roles in development and disease. Beyond simply sensing fluid flow in kidneys, they are critical for mechanosensation in cartilage, influencing bone development. In the eye, photoreceptor outer segments are highly specialized primary cilia, crucial for vision. In the developing embryo, specialized motile cilia in the nodal region create a leftward fluid flow, essential for establishing a left-right body asymmetry. Defects in these cilia lead to conditions like situs inversus. The study of ciliopathies, diseases caused by ciliary dysfunction, reveals how disruptions in these tiny structures can lead to a wide spectrum of disorders affecting nearly every organ system, from polycystic kidney disease to Bardet-Biedl syndrome, highlighting their pervasive importance. Let's challenge your knowledge with the first 5 hardest level questions. First, differentiate between prokaryotic and eukaryotic flagella and their evolutionary origins. Second, explain the process of intraflagellar transport, IFT, and the roles of kinesin 2 and dynein 2. Third, describe how calcium and CAMP regulate ciliary beat frequency. Fourth, elaborate on the advanced sensory functions of primary cilia beyond simple mechanosensation. And fifth, discuss the role of nodal cilia in establishing left-right body asymmetry during embryonic development. Now for the remaining 5 hardest level questions. Sixth, explain the concept of molecular heterogeneity in ciliopathies and its implications for diagnosis. Seventh, discuss potential therapeutic strategies for treating ciliopathies. Eighth, how are primary cilia involved in developmental signaling pathways like hedgehog and WNT? Ninth, describe 2 ways in which cilia-inspired bioengineering can be applied in microfluidic devices. And 10th, how might biomimetic cilia contribute to targeted drug delivery systems? These questions require a comprehensive and analytical understanding of the topic. And that brings us to the end of our in-depth exploration of cilia. From their basic structure to their complex molecular mechanisms, clinical significance, and even bioengineering applications, you've gained a comprehensive understanding of these tiny, yet mighty, cellular organelles. We hope this journey through the easy, medium, hard, and hardest levels has been enlightening and has boosted your confidence for NEET. For more such engaging and high-quality educational content, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for continuous learning. Keep pushing your limits, and remember, success is within your reach.